It began with a glimmer on August 6, 2025, a moment so quiet and so sterile in a laboratory that no one expected it to shake the foundations of modern astronomy. The James Webb Space Telescope, humanity's most powerful eye on the universe, was suddenly forced into emergency override mode. Not because of a black hole or a distant explosion, but because of something far closer and far stranger. A comet, or at least something that looked like one. Designated 3I Atlas, it was first dismissed as just another frozen traveler drifting in from interstellar space, silent and predictable. But when Webb's sensors locked on and the first wave of data streamed in, it became clear that what they were observing wasn't simply unusual, it was impossible. The chemical signature was wrong. The element ratios were chaotic. The behavior was violently unpredictable. And as the readings grew more extreme, a single unsettling question began to echo among the astrophysicists watching the data scroll across their screens. What if this object wasn't a comet at all? What if it was something constructed, something sent? The first warning sign was the coma, the glowing envelope around the object. At 6 astronomical units from the Sun, 3I Atlas should have been frozen solid, too cold for any real outgassing. But it was active. Not weakly active, but violently active. Webb detected spectral lines dominated by carbon dioxide, 8 times more than water vapor. No comet had ever recorded a ratio anywhere near that. The coma was thin, smooth, and dustless, almost controlled, as if something inside the object was releasing only specific compounds in precise amounts under conditions where nature should have rendered it completely inert. Then came the metallic readings. Nickel was pouring off the object, strong, consistent, undeniable. But iron, nickel's inseparable cosmic partner, was missing almost entirely. This wasn't a trace imbalance. Nickel outweighed iron by over 40 to 1. In nature, the two metals are created together in the same stellar furnaces, always mixed, always paired. Yet here was something drifting through space that had somehow separated them. The only place such a process occurs is not in stars or collisions, but in factories and furnaces. This was the moment researchers stopped whispering "comet" and quietly started saying "mechanism." Before the chemistry could even be properly analyzed, PAN-STARRS flagged something even more bizarre. 3I Atlas was accelerating, not because of sunlight, not because of natural jets. There wasn't enough heat for that. Yet its speed was increasing in small but unmistakable jumps, almost like an engine switching on and off. Every 7.2 hours, the object brightened in a perfect rhythm like a cosmic lighthouse. Not random, not reflective, mechanical. That rhythm triggered Webb's emergency override. At 2:11 GMT, after ground observatories reported CO2 spikes and metal readings that made no physical sense, the telescope's automated system activated its highest priority tracking protocol. Minutes later, Webb locked onto the object. The first packets of data were nothing like what any scientist expected: no icy signatures, no natural compositions. Instead, they revealed carbon chemistry so extreme and so volatile that it felt as though Webb were looking not at a celestial body, but at a machine performing a task. The mystery deepened when historians and metallurgists were quietly consulted. High-nickel iron, almost identical in composition to the readings from 3I Atlas, had been found before, on Earth, in ancient artifacts. King Tutankhamun's dagger, Babylonian beads, early royal ornaments, all forged from heavenly metal, crafted not from earthly resources but from something that fell from the sky long before recorded history. For the first time, researchers dared to ask whether those fragments were not simply meteor remnants, but debris. And if they were debris, then perhaps this wasn't the first time an object like 3I Atlas had passed near Earth. Then the final signal appeared, Not light, not sound, but a faint electromagnetic pulse hidden inside the thermal readings. When converted to audio patterns, it revealed prime intervals, Fibonacci ratios, and repeating harmonics. Not language, not music, a mathematical fingerprint, a breadcrumb, a signature left by something that understood the fundamental patterns of the universe. It wasn't a transmission. It was more like a tag, something that said, "This object is part of a larger system." By then, astronomers no longer saw a comet. They saw machinery, machinery older than our civilization, machinery performing a function that had nothing to do with us. Whatever 3i Atlas was doing, it wasn't reacting to human observation. It was reacting to something else, something that had heard its signals long before we ever noticed them. The acceleration, the rhythms, the impossible chemistry, none of it was random. None of it was accidental. It felt scheduled, as if the object wasn't arriving for the first time but returning on cue. Some discoveries don't announce themselves. Some simply wait for us to finally look up and notice. And now that we've seen 3i Atlas, the only question that remains is whether this is the beginning of something new, or the continuation of something we failed to recognize long ago.